I returned from my mother's funeral to find my apartment locks changed. My landlord had sold everything, including my mom's ashes. He texted, "You were late on rent, stuff's gone, find somewhere else." I was 1 day late due to the funeral. I replied, "Thank you for the evidence," because I had been recording everything for months. The rain was still falling when I got back from the cemetery. Black dress soaked through, makeup running, hands shaking as I tried to unlock my apartment door. The key wouldn't turn. I tried again. Nothing. My name is Diana Torres, and from wherever you're watching this, stay with me. Because what my landlord did while I was burying my mother became the most expensive mistake of his miserable life. Gary Hutchinson had been my landlord for 3 years. Owned the whole building, 12 units of luxury apartments, that were actually roach-infested boxes with paper-thin walls and plumbing from the Carter administration. But the rent was manageable, and I'd needed stable after Mom's diagnosis. The problem started small. Security deposit he forgot to put in escrow. Maintenance requests ignored for months. Entering apartments without notice. Then it escalated. Cameras in hallways aimed at doors. Threatening texts over rent being 12 hours late. Eviction notices for noise complaints when tenants were at work. I started documenting everything 6 months ago, after he'd entered Mrs. Chen's apartment while she was showering. She'd screamed. He'd claimed emergency maintenance. The emergency? He wanted to check if she had a cat. "You're paranoid," my neighbor Marcus had said when I installed my own cameras. "Gary's just a slumlord, not a criminal." But I knew better. My mom had been a paralegal. "Document everything, Mija," she'd say. "Paper trails save lives." So I did. Every interaction. Every text. Every illegal entry caught on my hidden cameras. I thought I was preparing for a normal lawsuit. I never imagined I'd need it because he'd robbed me while I buried her. Mom died on a Tuesday. Lung cancer, 2 years fighting. I'd taken family leave to care for her, draining savings, maxing credit cards. But we'd had 2 last months together. That was worth everything. The funeral was Saturday. I'd paid October rent on September 30th, like always. November rent was due Friday the 1st. Mom died Tuesday. Funeral home, arrangements, family flying in, I'd forgotten. 1 day. I was 1 day late. Saturday morning, dressed for her funeral, I'd tried to pay through the app. Error message. Called the office, closed weekends. Figured I'd handle it Monday. I should have known better. Now, standing in the hallway, soaking wet, locked out, I called Gary. "What do you want?" His voice was gleeful. He'd been waiting for this. "My key doesn't work." "Not your apartment anymore. You were late on rent." 1 day. My mother died. I was at her funeral today. "Not my problem. Rent was due yesterday. You're evicted." My hands shook. "That's illegal. You need court orders. 30 days notice. You can't just." "I can and I did. Your stuff's gone too. Sold it to cover back rent and damages." "What back rent? What damages?" "Check your texts." I pulled up our thread. A new message, sent while I was at the cemetery. "You were late on rent, stuff's gone, find somewhere else." Then photos. My apartment empty. Not just empty, stripped. Everything gone. Furniture, clothes, electronics. The urn with Mom's ashes I'd placed on the mantel 2 days ago. Where are my mother's ashes? "Told you. Everything's gone. Should have paid on time." I sank to the hallway floor. "You sold my mother's ashes?" Looked like a fancy vase to me. Got $40 for it. The world tilted. I couldn't breathe. Couldn't think. My mother, the woman who raised me alone, who worked 3 jobs to put me through school, who fought cancer with grace, sold for $40 like yard sale trash. "I'm calling the police." "Go ahead. I'll show them the lease. Late rent means eviction. Your stuff was abandoned property." He hung up. I sat there in the hallway, in my funeral dress, rain-soaked and shaking. Then I remembered Mom's voice. "Document everything, Mija." I replied to his text. "Thank you for the evidence." Then I made my first call. Not to the police. To my mom's best friend, Catherine Chin. Attorney. Absolute pit bull. "Diana? How was the service?" "Katie, Gary illegally evicted me while I was at Mom's funeral. He sold everything, including Mom's ashes." Silence. Then, "Where are you?" "The hallway." "Don't move. Don't touch anything. I'm bringing my team." My second call, Channel 6 News. The reporter who'd covered tenant issues before. "This is investigative reporter Sarah Kim." "Sarah? Diana Torres. Remember the landlord story you wanted? I've got something bigger." Within an hour, the hallway was packed. Katie with 2 junior attorneys, Sarah with a camera crew, 3 police officers, and Mrs. Chun from 4B, who'd heard the commotion. He did the same to my nephew last year, Mrs. Chun announced. While he was deployed, said military don't count as tenants. Katie's eyes sharpened. We'll discuss that later, Mrs. Chun. The police tried the civil matter dismissal until Katie showed them the law. Illegal eviction is criminal. Theft is criminal. Selling someone's cremated remains? That's theft of human remains. Criminal. Gary arrived then, swagger evaporating when he saw the crowd. What's this circus? Mr. Hutchinson, Katie stepped forward. I represent Ms. Torres. You've illegally evicted her, stolen her property, and sold human remains. You have one chance to make this right. Return everything immediately. I don't know what she told you, but she told me nothing I didn't read in your own texts. And see on security footage. His face changed. What footage? I pulled out my phone. Every hallway. Every entrance. Every illegal entry for 6 months. Including you entering my apartment this morning at 10:47 a.m. while I was at Riverside Cemetery. Here's you and 2 men carrying out boxes. Here's them loading a truck. Here's you counting cash in the hallway. Sarah's camera caught every frame. Gary went pale. But my favorite, I continued, is this one. You on the phone at 11:23 a.m. I hit play. His voice clear as day. Got another one cleared out. Stupid bitch was at her mom's funeral. Yeah, even got 40 for some ugly urn. The police moved toward him. He backed away. Wait. It was a misunderstanding. I thought she'd abandoned. You texted her during the eviction. Katie cut him off. Can't claim abandonment when you're actively communicating with the tenant you're robbing. I want a lawyer. Good choice. You'll need one. Officers. As they cuffed him, I asked, where's the urn, Gary? Where's my mother? I don't know. Mike's pawn on Crenshaw. Maybe. I don't remember. They led him away. Sarah turned to me. Can we interview you? After I find my mom. Katie drove me to Mike's pawn. The urn was there. $40 to buy back my mother. The shop owner, seeing the news van, threw in an apology and a full list of everything Gary had sold him. He comes in all the time, Mike said. Always with tenant stuff. I thought it was legal. You thought cremated remains were legal to buy? Katie asked. Mike refunded every tenant's items without argument. That night, I slept in a hotel, mom's urn beside me. Katie's team worked through the night. By morning, they'd found 17 illegal evictions. $300,000 in stolen property. A pattern spanning 5 years. Monday brought the avalanche. Sarah's story aired Sunday night. By dawn, tenants were calling. Previous victims. Current residents. Everyone with a Gary story. Marcus from 2A, evicted while his wife was in labor. Claimed the baby violated occupancy limits. The Johnsons from 3C. Locked out during their honeymoon. Possessions sold. Wedding gifts gone. College student from 1F. Evicted during finals. Lost scholarship when she couldn't complete exams. 43 victims total. Each with documentation. Photos. Texts. Stories of Gary's greed. But mine was the worst. Who sells human ashes? The criminal charges piled up. Illegal eviction. Theft. Trafficking in human remains. Extortion. Federal mail fraud. He'd sold items shipped to tenants. The FBI joined when they found he'd evicted 3 military families illegally. Katie filed civil suits for everyone. Individual and class action. Emotional distress. Illegal eviction. Conversion of property. For me, desecration of human remains. Conservative estimate? Katie said. He's looking at 20 years and millions in damages. Gary tried to negotiate. Offered to return what he could find. Promised to fix up the building. Swore it was all miscommunication. Then we found his storage unit. Filled with sold items he'd kept. My mom's jewelry box. Mrs. Chen's father's war medals. The Johnsons' wedding album. Trophies of his victims. That's when I understood. He didn't need the money. He enjoyed the power. Making people homeless. Stealing memories. Causing pain. The trial was swift. Security footage doesn't lie. Text messages don't forget. 43 victims don't misunderstand. Criminal verdict. Guilty on all counts. 15 years federal prison. 3 years state. Consecutive. Civil verdict. $4.7 million in damages. $500,000 to me alone for the cremains. The building would be sold to pay victims. At sentencing, Gary's lawyer argued for mercy. He's a small business owner who made mistakes. I stood to give my victim impact statement. When I was 6, my mother worked 3 jobs to keep our apartment. Some nights, she'd count pennies to make rent. She never missed a payment in 37 years. Never. Because she said a home was sacred. A place where you're safe. Gary Hutchinson doesn't see homes. He sees opportunities. He waited until I was at my mother's funeral, her funeral, to steal everything I owned. Then he sold her ashes. $40. That's what my mother's remains were worth to him. This wasn't a mistake. It was predation. He's done it for years. Military families. New mothers. Students. Grieving daughters. He picked us because he thought we were vulnerable. Too broke or busy or broken to fight back. He was wrong. My mother died teaching me to document everything. Thanks to her, 43 families get justice today. Thanks to Gary's greed, no tenant will suffer his abuse again. I don't want mercy for him. I want him to feel what we felt. Homeless. Helpless. Discarded. I want him to know that homes are sacred. Families are sacred. And mothers, living or dead, are sacred. $40. That's all my mother was worth to him. Let's see what his freedom is worth to the law. The judge gave him the maximum. 23 years total. No early release. Gary cried. Actually cried. It's not fair. They were just late on rent. The building sold within months. The new owner, Mrs. Chen's daughter, turned it into affordable housing. Real affordable, not Gary's version. She named it Rosa Torres Memorial Apartments, after my mom. I used the settlement to start a nonprofit. Document everything. Helping tenants know their rights and collect evidence. We've stopped 200 illegal evictions in our first year. The storage unit became evidence, then returned items to families. But some things were too damaged. Water. Mold. Time. We held a ceremony, burying what couldn't be saved. Closure for things Gary tried to steal forever. Last week, a letter came from federal prison. Gary's handwriting. Diana, I hope you're happy. You've ruined my life over a misunderstanding. I was just protecting my investment. Your mother would be ashamed of how you've treated me. I'll sue when I get out. Gary. I framed it. Hung it in my office next to Mom's picture. Evidence of narcissism that profound should be displayed. Katie laughed when she saw it. He still doesn't get it. He sold my mother's ashes for $40 and thinks he's the victim. Well, he's got 23 years to figure it out. The best part? Every tenant he'd robbed got justice. Every family made whole. Every stolen memory honored. And Mom? Her urn sits in my new home. One I bought with the settlement. Safe. Respected. Surrounded by the documents that brought her justice. Document everything, Mija. I did, Mom. Every word. Every crime. Every tear. And because I listened to you, 43 families got their homes back. One landlord lost his freedom. And your memory, worth infinitely more than $40, became the foundation for protecting others. Sometimes, when I visit your grave, I tell you about the families we've helped. The veterans who kept their homes. The students who finished school. The mothers who didn't lose everything while burying their children. Each one started with documentation. Each one ended with justice. Just like you taught me. Gary thought he could steal from the grieving. Thought funeral meant opportunity. Thought one day late meant everything was his. He thought wrong. Because you raised me to document everything. And Gary? He documented his own destruction. Text by text. Crime by crime. $40 at a time. The evidence, as they say, spoke for itself. And 23 years later, it's still talking.